Hey, how's it going? It's Justin McDonald here with another results radio message for you. And today is a quote from Peter Thiel, and what he said was a quote that I think is pretty cool. Um, and when I started writing it down uh, today, all kinds of things are running through my mind. In fact, this might be one of my favorites. What important truth do very few people agree with you on? Now, feel free to post that in the comments if you want, even after this video. But like this is where a lot of juicy stuff is too when it comes to where you might find a niche too. Like some people are just fishing in bloody red oceans, I guess you can say. And what you want to do with your product or service or whatever you're in the business with is you want to be casting your pole in blue water, not just a bunch of bloody red sharks. So I was thinking of a few things that I wrote down. Um, and actually, before we even get to any of those, I recently had somebody watch some of these, and or they were watching parts of my live casts, and I think they only watched like 30 seconds of it. And this person, mind you, and I'm sure they will be listening at some point, maybe, maybe not, if they get that far, made comments before that I was like, all right. I mean, that's pretty good advice. Thank you. I appreciate it. Um, but like one thing that they said that I was just like, I kind of just like nodded and agreed almost, but then I was just like, basically I said in my head I was like, screw you. And what they said too was that and this kind of segues from it. They were saying that, oh, you should get to the delivery or deliver the message sooner, right? And I'm like, you know what? No. And sometimes, okay, I will get right to the point and get right to the message right away. Sometimes I might go off into other tangents. Sometimes I might not even really get to the point. But that's like the whole part of like this storytelling process and everything else. Now, to throw them under a bus real quick, because I'm not going to say their name, um, I don't think that they do any like videos at all, like or like any kind of podcasting from what I know. And I think that after they critique, they said something about along the lines like, "Oh, like I'm gonna get around to it, but like I gotta get like the lighting right and like the camera right." And I'm just laughing at that. You want to know why? Look at you guys right. Sorry. Thank you everybody who's watching and listening. But like this right here, I am using horrible lighting, a crappy phone. I'm not getting to the message quick enough. Whatever. Like that. This is like, and I did share some. I used to do another like podcast or whatever before, but that's neither here nor there. And I even share that too, just to give them like a little bit of like, I do these off the cuff, and the message sometimes is like formed as like, because it's like I said, it's like all these are improvised, as you can see. I do write down some things. Like I do put a Dale Carnegie approach to it. And if you guys don't know who Dale Carnegie is, you should definitely like look up his stuff. It's all public domain as far as I know. And there's also, we'll start going right down the line right now of truths that few people know. Dale Carnegie. Do you know that there's librarians. Yes, I am throwing librarians under the bus. There's librarians, college librarians. Okay, I'm even going to be specific. Boston Library, even, and I won't get any more specific than that. They have a very cookie cutter approach to like business, first of all, and I can't even say the word salesman because they're like, you can't, you know what I mean? You can't even say, you gotta say salesperson. Um, a lot of like, a lot of like the truths actually are going to be more and harder to find. Dale Carnegie being one, by the way. I don't want to lose you on that one. Um, but like I remember going to these libraries and just wanting to get more books on this whole school of knowledge of entrepreneurship and salesmanship and marketing. Like, guys, women, like these stories, like the whole, like, all right, I'll give you, before we get back into Dale Carnegie, I'll tell you the truth right now. Like, most, like, wealth is all a process. And, like, a lot of it can be found in books. And like not only that, but all these things and philosophies and like the laws of business and the way business goes, I'm telling you, is not new at all. Like if you want to go back over 100 years ago, early 1900s, even before that, there is tons and tons of really, really good literature on sales, on advertising. I mean, look up Claude Hopkins. He is one of my favorites. Um, Scientific advertising, My Life in Advertising. Excellent, excellent, excellent books. Public domain. However, scientific advertising, I had to hunt for that, and I know, I'm not going to say where, but there's only one college library. I actually had to pay to be a member there. I don't know, I can't remember how much it was, a year, just because I wanted to, like, physically hold that book in my hands and read it. And I actually did an audio read on it sometime I'll share with you guys. And I mean, these books are like 100 years old. Not only that, but that same college I went to and found that book has like these like vaults of like old business books. It's like nobody is even like reading them. I'm not saying nobody, but like very few. Of course, everyone looks at me like I have 10 heads, but I don't care. Same thing with sorry but not sorry person that's saying you need to get to your, you need to deliver the message sooner. Why? Why? Because I'm catering to people that have the attention span of a goldfish. I mean, I hear that all the time. Like, that's most people. I get that. But you know what? This is my filtering process. That is my filtering process. If you can't get past that, if the bad lighting or the bad sound or me rambling or going off in different tangents or not getting to the point soon enough or you don't like the tone of my voice or like a million other things, there's something on my face, my hair looks weird, I look weird, I don't care. The message, the truth is so important to me to deliver it in a way that I'm not like blowing smoke up anybody's ass. Like, it's so important to me to deliver it in this fashion that I don't, like, I need the feedback and I need the comments and I need to like learn and grow from those, but at the same time I'm like, buddy, this might not be for you. You're gonna need to get past 30 seconds of my video to get to my point anyways. And maybe very few people do. But those are like the very few people that I would even consider to put on my list. You get what I'm saying? By my list, I mean you as an awesome friend right now on Facebook, because that's where it is live. I don't know you. I probably never met you in person. That's okay. I tagged a lot of you people on there because I can see that a lot of you people are on this entrepreneur path that very few people are on. And I see the neediest and and despair too. I'm not saying I'm not there, but like I could see like a lot of people are trying the same old stuff and they're just like, you know what I mean? I could see the view counts and things like that on their videos and stuff, and I'm not saying that like it's just like I'm saying two things at once here. I'm seeing all that, but I'm also like I'm friending people I see on Facebook that I can see that have like this common thread. And some of these things we might go over before I get to Dale Carnegie because I told you I will. But like, thank you for whoever's on this journey with me. Like, I'm watching your stuff too. Like, if you go live and you have something something valuable to say, and like try to make this like economy and this world that we're living in like a better place. Like that's what I'm trying to do. And like I'm trying to do it in my own little like world here, I guess you can say, by just like off the cuff, whatever. Like who cares about the phone, the window, the music, like the lights. Like I just thought it was so funny. Like these are the excuses people give themselves to not do something like this. You know what I mean? Like I've slipped on so many bananas and had so many like eggs on my face doing these kinds of things that I'm like immune to it at this point. I know that like again when I write something down when it comes from a book, it's like there's like a certain spire that I tap into. We will get to Dale Carnegie. And that is also one of these what important truth do very few people agree with you on? And one would be that when it comes to creativity and inspiration, that it doesn't even come from us. Now, go ahead and argue that one because if you really, really think about it, I mean, scientists, one being Nikola Tesla, even said too, and I'm definitely not going to like argue with too many of Nikola Tesla theories and approaches, scientific approaches and methods because he was one of the best, if not the best. And he even said that our brains are only capable of movement of muscle. So even like if it's like your brain, whatever it is, like all our bodies can actually do physically is move muscle. And in our brains, like we think that this creativity comes within somebody. And I'm not saying on some level it doesn't, because it has everything to do with that person. But where does the creativity come from? Where does the inspiration come from? It comes from the spire. And the spire is somewhere out there. Somewhere out there. That's where inspiration comes from. It took me, I blew my mind. It blew my mind, but now every time I have a creative whatever it is, or I see somebody else being creative or whatever, I can see that. They're tapping into something that's out there. Now what's out there, I don't really know. That's why we are creative. That's why we see creative images and pictures and music and movies and all these other things. And I'm not saying like the capacity of somebody thinking doesn't actually get involved in this. I mean, that's absolutely like all part of it. But where this idea comes from, like where these things come from, is a lot of times it's out there. So like when I write something on a card, an index card, and I'm like this, I don't know, I agree with it. Like I can see where they're going with it, or like I can tie that into business or entrepreneurship, or somebody that's just like at base level or maybe a little bit below, and be like, hey, let's pick each other up. You know, what's the difference between the person that's on the top of the mountain and the bottom of the mountain? If you know who Gary Halbert is, he would say something like that too. It's that person that wakes up tomorrow and saying, I'm going to give it another shot. Because that person that's up here, they might get lazy and get used to being on top of that mountain. They get everything, right? They work, whether they worked for it or whatever, they just, now they're like, now they're lazy. And that person that every day I'm going up Mount Everest. I'm going up there. I'm going to go to the top. You know? what's going to happen eventually? So with Dale Carnegie, he put a lot into public speaking. He's got a very excellent book that everybody or anybody that's even stumbled upon this video or just wants to better themselves as communicators, and such a helpful book is How to Win Friends and Influence People. Now, I know there's a younger generation out there and a culture out there that would take a title and say, how dare you say something like that? How to win friends and influence people. That sounds like some cult stuff or whatever. Hey, you could say whatever you want about that. We went through the different rungs in the ladder of success, right? Now, intention and stuff like that has a lot to do with it, but like that book is a positive force. There's nothing in that book that's like, here's how to overthrow the government, here's how to manipulate people. No, none of that. It's like literally just like it's like, here's another hidden truth. It comes from that philosophy, and it's like people only care about themselves. You think that, oh, well, people only care about money and stuff like that. Yeah, but like people only care about themselves. And the sooner you realize that, the easier it is for you to sell your product or service. You know, that's what you want to tap into. So before we go further on to Dale Carnegie, I got another tangent. You build it, they won't come. And I'll bundle that with school teaches you how to be poor. Want to know why? Because I am a graduate of college. I gave it 2 shots actually, back in 2007, and more recently, and then I graduated. Now, I didn't get my bachelor's and my master's, oh whatever, but you know what? It came to a point where I'm like, this isn't going to do anything for me. You want to know what's going to blow your mind right now? I've said it before. See this book right here? Yes, it's overdue. And if there's anybody that's connected with Boston Public Library, like, dude, can you give us back our book? Yeah, I will. Okay? I'm going to have to mail it or something. Sometimes I get a little lazy. But that book right here, I will put money on it right now. I'll put money on it that I will school a Harvard Business Review student that's so schooled in marketing. I bet you that if I had this book, I could, like, just armed with that book and then with their diploma or whatever, I would school them. For sure. I won't even flinch at that. What are they gonna do? Pull out some cookie cutter thing? This book, by the way, is excellent. It's a little dated, about 20 years old, right? But another truth that's not very well known is that you can get more out of a book than school and courses and all that. All that is there for is so you can, like, it's like they're like basically like forcing you to read it and read it in a way that's boring and like you have to take notes and have to answer. But I would say taking notes is the most valuable thing to get out of school at any age. And then when you come out of it later and realize, what did I learn in school? I would say take good notes. Be like the best note taker you possibly can. Start a swipe file if you're still a teenager right now. Right now, start that swipe file. What's a swipe file? I mean, anything that's going to give you inspiration to, like, for copywriters, for us, like, create ads and stuff like that. I got swipe file. My foot's like kicking them right now. I got different ones. I got some that are A pile. I got some that are B pile. I got all kinds of ads. Things that come in the mail. When I see an ad that's like, oh, I almost want to get that, I save that stuff. Because it's coming from somewhere else. Right? So even like creative ad geniuses got their stuff from somebody else. They didn't outright copy, right? Some maybe, but no, like you take things that work and then you innovate and you make them better. You don't want to start from scratch all the time. So like going back to the Dale Carnegie thing, like, I was calling out all those librarians earlier because I was going to libraries and they didn't even know who he was. I was like, is this a joke? Like, I was like trying to find some books that on him, and like they literally have. Oh, you mean that Carnegie section? Yeah, that he built. Like, Dale Carnegie built parts of libraries all over this country. Not only that, but he was a huge part of the early success of YMCA. Like, his name used to be in every YMCA, and I don't like go there. I never really seen it or paid any attention to it, but um Dale Carnegie has all his stuff is pretty much public domain, and there's tons and tons to value from it, and there's nothing bad about it at all. Like, it's just getting you to like remember people's names, like different like little games you play in your head, like just like how to prepare for speeches, and like just all these like little like life hacks almost that you see these kids trying to like, you know, share on social media as if they discovered it and things like that. I'm like, go read Dale Carnegie. He's got like every like answer to all those public speaking and learning like how to like make friends and like with just about anybody. And that you could just like the references in there too would even be sometimes like war generals and presidents and all this other stuff. So yeah, Dale Carnegie is no joke. Very much look up to what he says. And if you do get your hands on How to Win Friends and Influence People, read it like once a year. I hear people say that too. Like, that's a book you want to read more than once. I mean, it's an action plan. It really is. I'll have to shut that window soon. It's getting a little chilly, but you know, like, it's so weird the weather out here. It was like almost 80. Actually, it was past over 80, like almost a month ago. It was snowing that month too, and now it's like feels like winter again. It's just like so cold. Um, I wrote down money is replaceable. I actually put in parentheses money is easily replaceable. Easily replaceable. What do you mean? Yeah, okay. I didn't break two commas as far as how much money I made or anything like that. However, there's something that I've learned too, not too long ago, but there's something that Dan Kennedy said too, and it had to do with like money being the most replaceable thing, like water, and how, you know, when you start looking at things like time and stuff like that, like that's irreplaceable. So like even if you're going through a financial struggle, or even if you got a lot of money, it's pretty fluid. Money is fluid. There's always there like we have this misconception that the money's gonna run out, or like you're gonna run out of money. Yeah, you might, but there's the money's there. It's on the table. You just have to find different ways to like get it. I know it's easier said than done, but that's kind of the way it is. Like, there is money. There's money for you to get. It's just like, you know, maybe you're just kind of going through like a maze, like a rat, like trying to get its cheese or something like that. You're like, but the cheese is there. It is. It's just sometimes it's hard for us to like grasp it and get it easy enough. So like, you know, if you're an entrepreneur, you already know. You probably have heard this from Robert Kiyosaki about um how like most people when they work, like that's like most of the poor people in the world are basically work and work hard, where it's like if you see like entrepreneurs, they watch how money moves. Like, that's kind of our job, is like watching how the money moves. And you know, we're like, I don't want to work a regular 9 to 5 job. I want to figure out how to move this money so the company is okay and like okay with me and gives me the things I need or whatever. Just kind of going off on a tangent in that one, but marketing in general is one of those hidden truths that not a lot of people know. Like, I'm somebody who thinks marketing is everything. I think everybody is a salesperson. That's a truth that not everybody agrees with. But everybody from somebody that's wearing a t-shirt that represents a company, a pen, an overflowing trash can, a rude salesperson, a nice salesperson, a receptionist that could be nice or not nice. It goes on and on and on. Again, it could be a stranger wearing the shirt of a company that's acting up in public or breaking the law. All these things could affect a business. And so everything that ties or to like the sale of any business would be considered marketing in my aspect. Even people that are like, I don't ever do advertising, I do everything word of mouth, and I don't believe in advertising. That is still marketing, because people do buy on those aspects too. People don't just buy on price. People like the feel like they're part of an exclusive club, or they got some rare item. Like those are feel good feelings, like the dopamine that gets released when people buy stuff. So like, don't ever get confused by people saying like, well, this will just sell itself, and that I don't need to do marketing. Like, both of those things could be far further from the truth. Paying yourself first is one truth that I don't know if everybody agrees on. And this goes to like, if you want to start a new project, a new career, a new hustle, a new direction, building your brand, whatever it is, people are just like, I don't have enough time. I have kids, I got job, all these things I gotta do, and I have no time for myself. Well, I hate to break it to you, but there's 24 hours in a day. And if you want to do something and start a new project, you owe it to yourself to go to bed a half hour earlier, get up a half hour earlier, and hey, start and end your day at least with a half hour of you time. And whatever you do with that time is up to you. You don't let like your boss, your brother, your sister, your spouse, or anybody, or your kids, or anybody, you don't let anybody get in that bubble, I guess you can say. So sometimes it works for people, you just kind of wake up before everybody else does. Or maybe some people stay up an extra hour. But there is a magical hour in everybody's day where they can pay themselves, not just with money but with time, because if you don't do that, you'll just be on that like endless loop, making yourself fooled into thinking that you don't have any you time when some people, they just wake right up and they just like, they're already in work mode, which is a survival technique. I'm not saying don't be in that mode, but like, hey, if you could give yourself a half hour or something, or an hour every day, you're going to feel so much better about it. You'll feel so much better about taking on the tasks of other people's businesses and everything else, because you know that you spent some time on yourself, and then there's that 1% rule too, right? Like, you've heard of that. At least if you do 1% better every day, it's 365 days in a year. Imagine how much better you'd be by next year is if you actually measurably did whatever it is you're trying to do 1% better every day. I know it's a small, minuscule amount, but it's those small gradual changes that are consistent and persistent that will actually get you to accomplish your goal. So some people that have important truths that few people agree on would be, in my opinion, I'm going to close this window while I'm closing this out here. There's no need to get too cold. Thanks for waiting. Thanks for listening or watching if you are. I can't see your comments. If I start getting streams of comments when I do this, maybe in the future I'll set up a laptop or something and communicate back to you. But for now, I'll have to deal with the comments later. And I appreciate anybody that's liked this or commented. And that's all I ask too. If you enjoy this or if you gotten value out of any of these, just hit like, or if you want to share it or tag somebody you know in it, cool. But there's no obligation here. I'm just me riffing about a quote, trying to tie it to the economy and your business or my business or marketing in general. So coaches, consultants, teachers, these people, and also first responders all have hidden truths that they know that very few people do. And that's why they get paid to teach or consult or coach, is because they're tapped into that knowledge. And if everybody on a mass scale knew everything about everything, then you wouldn't ever have coaches or teachers or consultants. So I think that anybody that is in that realm holds hidden truths that very few people know, and there's a lot of value in there. And going back into actually coaches and consultants and teachers, they're more of a rare breed too. They're not, I mean, you probably know a lot of them, but it's not like everybody you know is a teacher or a consultant or I don't know, maybe, I don't know. I'm just saying it's a smaller population, and if you want to talk about wealth, the wealthiest of the wealthiest people are in the top 5%, right? We can agree on that, top 5%. Now, if you want to talk about right and wrong and being wealthy, I mean, I've heard Dan Kennedy say this, and Lee Miltier, and they were saying that because if you think about the 5% that are wealthy, not just rich, not just got inheritance, but are actually wealthy, basically pull themselves from their bootstraps and ran with something and then became super billionaires. In their club, the rest of the world is wrong. Because they're we're the super rich 5%. And if you ever decided you could actually be in that club, you gotta think in perspective of that 95% of the people are wrong about wealth, their relationship with wealth. And that's the biggest reason why the top 5% are the top 5%. There are different levels of wealth. You might be confused with the different one, but I'm talking about the top 5%. So, do they know truths that very few people know? I would imagine. Because when it comes to being an entrepreneur, running your own business, sometimes you need to tell yourself that too. That there's going to be a lot of naysayers, and there's going to be a lot of family and peers and friends and you name it that are going to tell you that what you're doing is wrong and that you should do it this way, you should do it that way, and give you all kinds of crappy advice. And that's kind of what I like about that too, is we'll see the 95% of the people aren't going for the same goal you are. They're not. This club that we're all in is a very small one in perspective. It's got less than 10% of the population in it. So you could think that if people aren't thinking like entrepreneurs, they're probably wrong. Just you need to have a little bit thicker skin. Don't just let people control, manipulate you by saying your idea is bad and pull you in like a crab in a bucket. Like, you know, if you want some advice on that one, I would say don't even tell anybody about your idea until it's ready to be executed, and you need them to know that so that way you can execute it, because you're probably not going to be able to do it all by yourself no matter what it is. You're going to need to be able to delegate and outsource your resources and yourself at some point, so because otherwise you're just going to stretch yourself too thin and you're not going to be able to get to that top 5%. So if you want to get to that top 5%, we're not talking about morally right or wrong. That's what people get confused. I didn't say everybody that's on the top 5% that's the ultra wealthy are angels or saints by any means. No. They could be the most crooked people on the planet for all I know. I don't know. But if you want to say what's right and wrong in business as far as the law of economics, it seems to me that they did all the right things to get there. How they got the money to prove it. They got billions and billions and billions of dollars. How are you going to say that they're wrong? Yet, again, you might be saying something else if you're saying they're wrong. Maybe it's how they're spending it. Maybe it's the aftermath of how they're getting it. I don't know. But I'm talking about to obtain the wealth, to get the money, to be swimming in that kind of money. In an economical standpoint, they did anything and everything to the T. That's why they got it that way. So, like, if you want it that way, if you want to be super rich and wealthy one day, keep that in the back of your mind. That most of the people out there are wrong about business, about wealth, about how they treat money, how their relationship with money. I'm not saying about anything else. Like, their views on this and that's different. But when it comes to, like, building wealth and having actual, like, equity and all that stuff, there's certain principles, laws in place, and the measurement of that kind of success is the dollar bill. So if somebody's got hundreds of billions of dollars, they did a lot of right things in an economic standpoint to get there. Now, can they stay there? Can that be sustained? Was it a moral thing that they've done? I have no idea. But I'm not going to even get political. But if you want to talk about Trump back in the 80s, I will straight up tell you that he, at one point in time in the 80s, before he got into a bunch of trouble, and again, I'm not talking about him as a politician at all. I'm talking about Trump when he was at his height of whatever, back probably before I was even born, or when I was a little baby or kid. And he followed the system, and he also became one of the richest, wealthiest people by doing things a certain way, the right way in an economical standpoint. Was he able to sustain that? You know what I mean? Was he a good person? I'm just saying, like, you can look at any of them. Bezos, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs. They all, even Elon Musk, they all did things right in an economical standpoint to get super rich. I'm not talking about the other things around that. That's where everybody gets, like, mystified by, and everything else is like how they spend the money and how they got the money. I get that. I get that it hurts your feelings. I'm not saying it doesn't hurt mine sometimes. Okay? Pollution and fossil fuels and climate change and all that. Of course. Those are, what I mean, sweatshops, all that stuff. Yeah. I am absolutely on board with saying that's not cool. That's bad. That's bad. That's very bad. However, when it comes to math, you get my point? So libraries, right, are in the realm of the important truth that few people know and agree with me on. That is, I'm just going to kind of, like, close it out on this too. And I'm not saying I'm not a hypocrite sometimes, or I don't take my own advice, but from my understanding, if you really are down and out and you're like ready to be rich, if you're ready to make a lot of money and you're just like, I don't like this car I'm driving, I don't like this job I'm working, I don't like this place I'm living at, go to the library. There are still libraries. I hope there is wherever you are. I hope you can get to one that's close enough too. Because there are still books that will basically step by step, if you follow them. I'm not going to tell you what they are. You're going to have to find them on your own, because I started finding them and I'm like, oh wow. There are books that will step by step tell you how to get wealthy. And the thing is see, very few people would agree with me on that. Or see, but I'm telling you, the greatest, the ones that got super wealthy and rich actually did that too. They know. It's there. It's public domain. It's in your own library. But see, it's like, people get so distracted with this and that, everything that's going on these days. If you are really stuck in that position, you're like, I want to learn how to actually get wealth, like, go to the library. I'm being broad about library, but there are, like, start digging. Start digging. I gave you a couple hints. I gave you a couple hints in this to, like, look up some of those authors. And when you start looking up some of their stuff, you'll get it. You'll see what I mean. And you're going to have to go beyond just reading those books. But the system, the formula to get rich exists at virtually every library in America. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. You can go to results-required.com if you want to sign up for my email list. I'll also send you my breakthrough results blueprint that I just got done. So if you want, I'll send that to you for free if you sign up to my email list. I was going to put it in my book that I'm about to put out, but I'm just going to give it to whoever wants it when they sign up to my email list. Again, that's results-required.com. Here, I'll write it down for you too. There's probably like all kinds of things in my bio or whatever to go to it, but whatever. It's results-required. And obviously, you don't need a www, and you don't need to capitalize anything. Just make sure you have the dash there. Results-required.com, and it'll just take you right to my landing page. You can fill out your email address, and I won't send you any crappy spam or anything like that. It's just to keep the story going, keep the conversation going. And if you want, once in a while too, you want to drop a question or something too, maybe I'll bring it up. Have a nice day. Peace.